Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee, Books, and Rain, where we are sipping, drinking coffee as the wind is blowing. I know you can't hear it, but I can hear it. And my chimes outside are clinking and clanking, but I'm hoping we get some rain in the next few days. It is officially New Year's Eve, though when you see this episode, I'm not sure. It's probably going to be towards the beginning of January, so crossing fingers that I can get my schedule. I have a tentative schedule of what all I'm releasing and when, but that does tend to change throughout the month as different things come up in my NetGalley, and I read things that I do or don't like, and we go from there. But today we are actually talking about what I think was a novella of sorts, but I didn't realize that this was number 10 in the Wayward Children series. Now, it's called Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear by Seanan McGuire. And I picked it up because not only did I get an audiobook version of it, but it got really good reviews even before, as I was just clicking to just see a little bit about it. And honestly, I thought it was really good. I think it stands alone on its own very well, but the ending threw me off. And I do wonder if I need to read more of the Wayward Children series. In fact, now that I'm saying that out loud, I feel as though I have read something else that's from the Wayward Children series, but I didn't actually click on it to find out. So I was gonna click really quick on her name, Seanan McGuire, and now she has about 485 books according to NetGalley that are attributed to her. Does that mean individual books, or does that mean all-encompassing with regards to audiobooks as well as paperbacks versus hardbacks and that sort of things? I'm not sure. But just looking at the Wayward Children series by themselves, Every Heart a Doorway sounds so incredibly familiar to me, and I want to say I may have been recommended that by a little while ago, and I say a little while ago because I do believe it's been a couple of years since that one may have popped up on my radar. But I want to say my friend Andrew in Chicago may have recommended Every Heart a Doorway. And so I think that may have been where the where Wayward Children series kind of popped into my brain. And I'm just kind of looking at some of the different titles. If y'all are ever curious, Across the Green Grass Fields, Where the Drowned Girls Go, Lost in the Moment and Found, and Mislaid in Parts Half Known. Okay, I did read number 9, which is the one before this one. I knew the author's name sounded familiar, but I frequently come on here after I've read the books. Then I actually open the Goodreads, and so my reactions are, authentic to the point that I don't read this before I come on here. I want you guys to kind of learn and be exposed kind of at the same time I'm learning and kind of being exposed to that sort of thing. But I did read Mislaid in Parts Half Known, and I think it was a little bit different, but it was really good. So super glad that I actually went back and looked at that. I don't think I did an episode on it. I think I just wrote a review, and that book did come out in what looks like the beginning of this year of 2024. So if you're getting this episode in January of 25, then the part 9 was released in January of 2024. Now this seems to be part 10, and it is being released here in January of 2025 on January 7th, I believe. And it's not super long. It looks like most of these books are actually what I would call shorter, almost novella length. So if you're looking for something that's kind of an easy read, usually pretty emotional, because I remember the last one was also pretty emotional as well. Um, let's see. Yeah, the other one was about like a bookshop. That's what I was thinking. That let's see, I'm just kind of reading through it real quick. She's looking for a way back to the shop where the lost things go. To be sure, the Vanetta and Hudson are keeping their promise along the way. Temptations are dangled. Well, I will say this particular book does not go back to the shop where where lost things go. This book goes in a new direction, and so I think that's why in my brain I was like, it feels familiar, but it is a different story for someone. So I am very interested to see kind of how we continue with this journey as I'm clicking on my little tablet in front of me so I can get back to Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear. And let's just go from there to talk about the summary just a bit. Giant turtles, impossible ships, and tidal rivers ridden by a drowned girl in search for a family in the latest in the Hugo and Nebula Award-winning Wayward Children Series from Seanan McGuire. Nadya'a had 3 mothers, the one who bore her, the country that poisoned her, and the one who adopted her. Nadya'a never considered herself less than whole, not until her adoptive parents fitted her with a prosthetic arm against her will, seeking to replace the one she'd been missing from birth. It was cumbersome, it was uncomfortable, it was wrong. It wasn't her. Frustrated and unable to express why, Nadya'a begins to wander until the day she falls through a door into Bellyrekka, the land beneath the lake, and found herself in a world of water filled with child-eating amphibians, majestic giant turtles, and impossible ships that sail happily beneath the surface as on top. And in Bellyrekka, she found herself understood for who she was, a drowned girl who had made her way to her real home, accepted by the river and its people. But even in Bellyrekka, there are dangers and trials, and Nadya'a would soon find herself fighting to keep hold of everything she's come to treasure. So, this book is only about 160 pages. I want to say the audiobook was about maybe 4.5 to 5 hours. It really wasn't very long. I did have the audiobook from NetGalley. And this book is expected publication on January 7th of 2025. I do still plan on going back and reading Every Heart a Doorway. Every Heart a Doorway. I believe that's the first one in the series, so I can kind of get an overarching view. Since there are 10 in this series, and they all seem to be what I would call on the shorter side, then I think they are worth the read of actually diving into them and going through the series like individually. But I've only read 9 and 10, and both of them have a different feel, have a different vibe, have different settings and situations. The only thing I was a little upset about was the ending for this particular one, but that is just maybe my thinking. So I would love if you went out and figured out for yourself how you feel about it. Again, this particular series is actually pretty moving in a lot of different ways. A lot of these individuals, the kids that are highlighted in these books, are orphaned or are looking for a place to belong in a lot of different ways. Maybe their family's too busy for them. Maybe their parents, especially in Nadya's case, we'll just use her as kind of the example since this is the book we just read. In Nadya's case, she was given up for adoption pretty much upon her birth. Her mother, her birthing mother, did not want her. She pretty much had the baby and left the hospital. So Nadya'a was left to the care of pretty much the orphanage from a very young age. Well, Nadya'a was missing her arm. It sounds like it was her right arm, either right above or right below the elbow. And she was just born that way. Well, in the orphanage, she always kind of played it up in the fact that she would organize the other children, helping them find families first. She was never so much concerned about finding a family for herself. She was more concerned about finding the place where other people belonged. And so that was kind of her mission, because she felt like if she could do a good enough job, and the book kind of states this, that her mom would come back for her. Well, ultimately, she is adopted by an American couple on a missionary trip, and though it seems as though the book kind of frowns on this particular practice, this is kind of what they've done. And so the couple adopt a child that is a little more or less, I guess, in dire needs in their particular thoughts. And even Nadya'a doesn't see herself as lacking in anything, since she has never had that arm. Wouldn't know like how to pretty much function with it. So she has learned to function very well in her society without that particular arm. And she's just, that's just who she is. Well, when she gets to her adoptive parents' house, you can tell that the adoptive mother feels like Nadya'a should be just so incredibly grateful, should just be bending over backwards to pretty much praise them. And I think the adoptive mother is very, I don't know, a little put out at the fact that her adoptive daughter is not, I guess, like I said, singing her praises, is not worshiping her feet. I don't know. It's very strange, but this adoptive mother, like, she does things for herself to make herself look better, like the mom, but only tentatively to help Nadya'a. And so you can kind of see there's a disconnect in that particular aspect. The adoptive father seems caring and well-meaning, but also seems like a pushover when it comes to anything that this adoptive mother kind of wants to say or do, because it seems as though he just sits back and lets things happen. And so I'm not a big fan of that dynamic. So when Nadya'a first gets to this household, her adoptive father learns that she had a turtle, he was a tortoise, but the adoptive father calls him a turtle. And so he takes her to this pond that's not too far from their house that has a lot of turtles. And so it becomes a place where Nadya'a goes frequently. Well, one particular day, Nadya's at the pond after she's been at school. It's kind of her first day of having this prosthesis, and Nadya'a falls in. But if you kind of have read the other books in the series, these doorways kind of come almost from nowhere and open when people are like in the most need for them. So Nadya's kind of in this point in her mind where she really feels like she belongs somewhere else. Like, this does not feel like the place where she belongs. And so she falls through this doorway into this new land, and then the book really takes this, this fantastical turn, this very Alice in Wonderlandish sort of vibe. And Nadya'a has a whole life that she lives inside of this land beneath the lake, or what have you. Land beneath the lake. That's what I thought it was. But it's called Belly Recca. And I don't want to give too many spoilers away. Again, it's only about 4.5, 5 hours long. It's about 160 pages. I feel like if you sat down for a sitting, you could easily read it pretty quickly. But let's just say Nadya'a spends more time there than she thinks she does. And life happens along the way. A lot of life happens along the way. But I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to tell you all the things that happen while she's in Belly Recca. I just want you to know this is number 10 of the Wayward Children Series by Seanan McGuire. The book 9 came out January of 24, so maybe we're going to get a part 11. It still doesn't feel like we are done with this series, but again, I do think these books can be read out of order, but I might make it my mission to try to pick up more of the books in this series just so I can see if there are connecting themes throughout. Because again, this is book 10. And it wasn't until I started kind of looking at the Goodreads, looking at the title, and saw that it was number 10, that I kind of started to ring a bell in my own mind that there was something else familiar about this book. And it's because I did read part 9, and I had been recommended part 1 a while ago by a really good friend of mine. So, with all of that being said, I hope your New Year's is amazing and lovely and everything that you look forward to. I hope you have a good cup of coffee or whatever beverage that you plan to drink. I do think mine will probably just be a little bit of coffee for now. I may go out, hang out with my friends, but we are a board game playing group, so we may not go find a party. We may just find someone's house or apartment to go sit and play some board games, which, however you are spending it, is the best way to spend it, I'm certain. And I hope you all have a wonderful day, fantastic New Year's, and I will see you guys on the next page. I do plan on getting my podcast back together for my Books Are Magical podcast. It will probably just be me for a little while, maybe once a week doing an episode. I had kind of planned on doing January 1st as kind of like my first episode. However, I have not gotten myself together quite yet to get that done. So hopefully in the next few days, I will get that done, and I hope you guys will look forward to that. And until next time, I'll see you on the next page. Bye.